understand that, of course, because Denmark and India are largely agrarian economies, what high technologies does Denmark feel that India may adopt from Denmark for either irrigation or dairy industry, because these are also two industries which are predominantly present in Denmark, which have lifted its economy over the last 30, 40, 50, 60 years. Whereas Denmark also has around, I believe, 6% of non-revenue water. India has more than 50% non-revenue water. So, but India is among those which are overspending water. So, how do you think this will sort of help India at this stage as well?
But I mean, as I said early on, we have the Green Strategic Partnership, and water is one of the main pillars of that cooperation. When it comes to what can we do actually, I mean, drip irrigation, we have been assisting India with what we call micro drip irrigation. So we had a tie-up with the Mahindra Group, and we are showcasing how we are developing technologies that can really secure that the only scarce resource that we have and we cannot substitute it, namely water, how we use that effectively, but also with full awareness that it's a gift from Mother Earth. When it comes to non-revenue water, we have in Denmark, all water being used, consumed, will come from the underground. So we have to protect our water resources, and we have a lot of different schemes that will provide incentives, but also we have high tariffs and tax on usage of water and discharge of water. That is to change the behavior. And water is not something that is for free. And I know in India a lot of people get things for free. That's a wrong way of doing it, because that will not raise the awareness. So non-revenue water, as you rightly said, 5-6%. In Denmark, I have not come across any single city or town in India where it's below 50%. So of course we can help inspire India. So that's one part. The dairy, Denmark, in your old textbooks, Denmark was always depicted as the land of dairy. And we are really good at farming. And so as part of the discussions between our two prime ministers, we have followed up and said, okay, we are ready to put up a center of excellence for dairy production. And that's happening these days in Himachal. And agri-waste, straws, husk, and so forth. In Denmark, we did the same burning of the stubbles. When I was a kid, I was born on a farm, and we put fire at everything, and air pollution was there, of course. And then we saw that waste, in fact, is a resource. It's waste through wealth, it's waste through energy, and so forth. So the same is happening in India, and there we also bring in technologies. So we are here to help inspire and help India really developing towards what your Honorable Prime Minister last 15th of October, Independence Day, said, let's make India one of the leaders of the developed world. We stand by that, and we think we have the right competences and skills that we can bring into that equation.
How does Copenhagen, as of today, look at the Indo-Pacific strategy, and how do you think that is more important for the two countries?
When it comes to Indo-Pacific, I mean, Denmark is a global shipping power, and we share exactly the same values as India. We need multilateralism, we need respect for rules of law, we need freedom to navigate, freedom to navigate. So we share the same views. And Indo-Pacific, if you look into the trade patterns, then you will see Indo-Pacific being a very, very important part of what we call the new geopolitical structure. So therefore, we share the same values, and we would like to work with India along these lines.
Right. Why is that India so far, or Denmark so far, does not have a direct flight? And do we sort of look at a future where we will soon have a direct flight now?
Yes, and a very good question. On March 1st, Air India is now resuming their flights to Copenhagen. It's a great decision. We applaud it. We praise Air India for having taken that decision to restart the flights that they were closed down due to COVID, but now they are starting. So 1st March of this year, we have a new lifeline. It's not just to rescue people, no. It's more to build on the Green Strategic Partnership. So this is a channel between our two populations and peoples that will take our relationship to an even higher level.
I also believe that Denmark has now opened a second cultural house in Asia and India after China. What was the actually idea behind opening of this cultural center, and how satisfied you feel after the response, especially in the last 3 years or so?
I mean, if you have to develop the ties between nations, that will have to include ties between the peoples, but also have to include ties from individuals to individuals. And there's no other field than culture that can nurture these ties, whether it's in design, music, whatever it is, literature and so forth. It will add a number of very important layers to our relationship, because if it's only from government to government, then you don't know what's happening. If they don't like us and we don't like them, things will explode. But if you have so many other layers where people-to-people exchanges will be part of it, where students are being exchanged and so forth, then you add a number of new layers that would secure that we have a better, stronger, and much more, diverse and faceted relationship. And basically, Denmark and India, you have 1.5 or 4 billion people, we have 6 million. So, but if you add the two, we are almost 1/3 of the global population. That's great, but we also need to interact from people to people.
Why has a forum like Arctic Council very little to offer when it comes to conflict in Ukraine? And how satisfied Denmark today feels or is with India's stand on both Russia and Ukraine?
I mean, there's no direct link between what's happening in the Arctic per se and Ukraine and so forth. Denmark has condemned the Russian aggression. It was an unprovoked aggression, and that started a war. Unfortunately, it has had and will still have, as long as this war is going on, have devastating consequences for people across the world, and a lot of people in very poor countries are suffering and so forth. India is an observer, and we'd like to really India to play a much more substantial role. Luckily, India last year introduced a new strategy, which is much more holistic on Arctic, and I'm pretty sure that whenever we have the opportunity, we will discuss with the Indian side how to really secure a much more prominent and substantial role in the Arctic. If the ice is melting, then it will have a direct impact on the monsoon pattern here in India. So you know, in that context, there are a consequence of what's happening. And for us, given the fact that India has the size it has, and the global ambitions and the global visions on top of that, then of course we have to work. We would like to work, and that's what we are doing through our Green Strategic Partnership. And hopefully in the future we'll add more dimensions to all that.
Excellent. On this very note, I thank you so much, Mr. Svane, for this lovely interview and for spending time with a new Indian to air your views on the partnership between the two countries. Once again, we wish you very best for fostering and enabling the ties between the two countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And there's only one thing to be said here. Thank you, Dhanyavad, but also to be continued, because our strategic partnership is only the first phase. We move bigger, deeper, and wider into our cooperation with our friends from India. Dhanyavad.
So that was Freddie Svane speaking to us here at the New Indian on what the relationship between the two countries will look like in the next decade or so. That's about it from me, Rohan Dua.